All right, good evening and welcome to Just Daf It. Daf Yevamos led by Vinci Lang. We're learning Maseches Yevamos Daf Nundal and 54. We've just started a new parak, the fifth parak. We're going to discuss tonight the concept of ones. Even though normally by Kiddushin and by Nisuin, one second, straight. Kiddushin and Nisuin, if you're a Kaddish lady, or you want to marry her and you do it forcibly, you rape her, it doesn't work. By Ibum, it does work. It does affect the kinyan of Ibum, as the Mishnah says. So, we're going to talk about exactly, that's Anusa, that's a case where she was raped. What the Mishnah says also, Anus, if the man was forced into doing Ibum, it also is Kona. So, we're going to discuss exactly what that case is, and in Enoch Ben Sion, we're going to discuss exactly a distinction the Rishonim and Achronim get into about a case of onus by a man. What exactly are the parameters of that? I hope everyone had a great Shabbos. I hope everyone had a great Shabbos. And I'm going to get started now. All right. Gemara says, on the bottom, Nun Gimel and Viz, about 5 lines from the bottom, 4 lines from the bottom. Under this, what is the case of onus in our Mishnah? The man was forced. Ilema Kshansu de Kachavim Ubal is talking about where non-Jews threatened to kill him. They said they're not going to kill you unless you do Yibum, right? Apparently, this lady paid some men. She wanted this man to be out of her. She paid off some hitmen. They forced her and forced him. Amarava known as the Erva Fishan Kisha Ladas. He says it's not called onus. Because even if someone threatens you at gunpoint and says, if you do even with her, we're not going to kill you. If you don't do, I'm going to kill you. The Gemara says a big lesson in Kisha El Ladas is that when a person intends to start being together with his wife or together with a girl, and his aver gets hardened, so that's done willfully. That's willfully. A person, if he really doesn't want it, it wouldn't happen. So it's not considered onus in that case. Even though they forced him, it's considered out of ratzon, his own desire to do it. It's not. You can't call that onus in our Mishnah. Elabi Yasha must be talking about where a case is honest, where he's sleeping. He's sleeping. He doesn't realize he's sleeping next to his Yevamo. Curious why he's sleeping next to the Yevamo. And then in the middle of his sleep, he's together with her. Rabbi Yehuda, Yashan lo kana b'yavimto. Yehuda says, if you're sleeping, halacha is, we pass like Rabbi Yehuda, tab nandal and aleph, you're not kona in your vama. Because we're going to see you need to have kavana for a ma'aseh bia. You have the kavana for a ma'aseh bia. When you're sleeping, you're dreaming, you don't know what you're doing. Ela benitka, it's talking about a case where he's on a roof and he falls off. V'amar Rava said, he falls off, and then he falls into the Yevama, and it's together with the Yevama while he started being together with someone else on the roof, and then he fell into the Yevama who was on the floor. But Rabba says, Rabba says, even though normally if you fall off a roof, obviously it's not that tall, you didn't die, but you fall off a roof and you injure somebody else, you're chayav. There's 5 things that 5 types of monetary payments you're obligated to pay someone if you injure them. 4 of them you're chayav for over here. Nezek, Sari, Boy, Sheves. We'll discuss later why Boshes, embarrassing, and we're not chayav for. But he also says that Yavama, you're not counted this way. Even if you, on the roof, you were intending to have relations with your wife, and then you fell off and you fell into your Yavama, it's not good. So the Gemara's maskan is with the case of honest where he's forced is that he intends to have relations with his wife. And then in the middle, the Yevama comes and she takes him on top of his wife, and she's together with him. She forces him to be together with her. So then the ma'aseh bia is still going on, even though it's not with his wife, it's with the Yevama, and that's called honest. She forced him. He didn't want to do it necessarily. he would be kona his Yevama even in that case, even though he's being forced to do it. Now, like Gemara says, Shnei Anusim Rabbi Chia Hechidon. What's the case of both of them are Anusim? That was Rabbi Chia says even both of them are Anusim. What would be that case? Here, she's not Anusa. She's forcing him to do it. She wants to do it. So Gemara says, go in the sky when the Ishtav Takfu Davkum Zebazeh Ubala. He intends to have relations with his wife. In the middle, Goyim, non-Jews come, they take his Yevama and basically take the man and the Yevama, put them together, and then they finished by themselves. So they were forced to do it. So therefore, that's called Shnei Manusim, would still be Kona Yevama. How do you know that even an Ones is Kona by Yevama? The Tana Rabbana Yevama Yavav Aleh mitzvah. It says Yevama Yavav Aleh. It's a mitzvah. Davar Acher Yevama Yavav Aleh. Bein Mishag Mezid B'Mones B'Rosh. We learn these words. We discuss in Eon and see on how do you see it from these words over here that even if it's on B'Shogeg Mezid Ones B'Rosh. What are the cases of Shogeg Mezid Ones B'Rosh? And Shogeg, I guess, is where he intends to be with his wife, and then he doesn't realize that he thought it was his wife, but it was really the Yevama. Mezid would be, or like say he does it l'shem noi. He's with the Yevama because of her beauty. Ones we talked about, and Ratzon, or he wants to do it. Ishus, let's say, to get married to her, but not for the mitzvah of Yibam. According to the Rabbanan, you're calling all those cases. Where's the hafikte le mitzvah? How could you learn two things out of the same pasuk? One to tell you that it's a mitzvah. Mitzvah. This is going according to the Rabbanan, not according to Abba Shol. It's a mitzvah that the preferred Yevama Yavala is tell you that it's the mitzvah to do Yivam more than Chalitza. Chalitza is less preferred than doing Yivam. So the Gemara says, the mitzvah nafka. That we learn that it's preferred to do it Yivam and not Chalitza from the phrase if he doesn't want to nafka. Ha chafetz yavim. Tell you if he doesn't want to, that's secondary. If he doesn't want to, but really ha chafetz really he should want to and he should do Yivam. Chiyasa krabim mishagim amazing on Ross in the pasuk Yevama Yavala. Tell you that you're kona in any of these circumstances, even onus. Tanya idach, another brayso. So Yevama Yavala kedarka. We learn something else from this pasuk. The first three words Yevama Yavala talking about if he has relations with Yevama in a normal way. The lacha shalok kedarka. The lacha means they had relations not in the normal way. Came from behind. V'yabam v'yibim bia gomeres ba ben kesef v'shtar gomer ba v'yibim is actually part of the one word v'yibma. So it could have just said v'yibim. So from the first part of the word, you learn v'yibim bia works to make a kin yibam, but kesef or star, all they do is mimer. They don't do a full kinyan. V'yibma, the full word, the extra hey bal korcha, tell you that even works even if she's anusa, even against her will. Davar acher. Another thing you learn from this pasuk. Yevama yavo aleh bein v'shogeg v'mezid v'ones b'rotzon. So again, the Gemara asks, "Hafikte l'kedarka." How could you learn Yevama yavo aleh? The first part of the pasuk is tell you that works even if he's honest or shogeg rotzon, whatever it is, it works. We learned that it has to be that kedarka, that if you do it a normal way, they're together a normal way. That's kona. So the Gemara says that you don't need a pasuk for who. Min hakim la'achiv shem nafka. V'makom shemakim shem. That you know from it says that the point of Yibum is to give a name to your deceased brother. So that you know because the only way you're going to give a name to your brother is having a child with his wife. So the only way to have a child is to do a kedarka, to fall in the right place. The real intent of the pasuk is to tell you that the bia is kona, whether you do it ones shogeg ratzon. We'll talk more about that in see on your kona in all these cases. Gufa, Amar Rav Yehuda yashan lo kana b'yevimto. I said before that if you're sleeping and in the middle of your sleep you go and have relations with the Yevama, it doesn't work. The Amar Kra Yevama Yavo Aleh Ad Mechavin Lo L'Shem Bia. Until he has intention to do it L'Shem Bia. He has to have in mind that he's doing an act of having relations. If he doesn't know what he's doing, that's not a Maisa Bia. Vatanya Ben Er Ben Yashin. Bryce says it could be whether he's awake or sleeping. And what is the aim of Ben Era Ben Yashin? No, the Bryce meant to say it didn't mean him awake or sleeping, whether the woman is awake or sleeping, even if she's sleeping. It depends on the man. The Yavam is really the one in control over here. If he's up and she's sleeping, it's okay. Just like if he does bonus, manis, or Vatanya ben Ero ben Yashin. Who ben Era ben He ben yishena he. The Brisa clearly says whether he's awake or sleeping. And when she's awake or sleeping, you see it's even refers to where he's sleeping. Hachal Mayaskina, what is this Brisa talking about? Misnamnim, it's talking about he's dozing off. He's not completely sleeping. Hechidam misnam, what's considered the misnamnim? Dozing off. Amrav Ashi nimvel anim tir velatir. It's talking about he's sleeping, but he's not sleeping. He's awake, but he's not awake. You go into Karle Ba'ani. If you call him, you say his name, he'll answer you. You ask him something that requires reason, he won't be able to give you reason for that. But if you tell him something that sounds reasonable, he'll say, oh yeah, that makes sense. He falls off a roof and he injures somebody, or he falls into the body of the Yevamo. He's chayav in arba dvarim v'imto lo kana. V'nezek v'sar v'shavas v'rip. He's chayav in these 4 out of 5 hezekim that he's chayav. Nezek, I guess, is if you'd injure the person, let's say you would break his arm or something like that, or you could lose an arm. So whatever value of the person, an eved who loses an arm is worth, how much an arm is worth in the shuk basar. The pain he went through, the sheves, is talking about how long he was unemployed for, beripui. The doctor's bills, the medical expenses. Embarrassing him, even though it's one of the 5 things, and Baba Kama says you're chayav for. Here you're not chayav when you fall off a roof. You're not chayav in bush until you're skaven. Here you fell off the roof by, no one intends to fall off a roof. It was a mistake that you fell off the roof, so therefore you're not chayav in embarrassing. And he tends to let out zera against a wall, right? Not in the Maisabiyah, and he ends up, the Yevama is there. She's makabel the zera from him. Lo kana, it doesn't work. He wants to ebol an animal. He wants to be together with an animal. Instead, the Yevama comes in the place of the animal. Kana, it does work. The hakam l'chem he's being together with an animal is called a Maisabiyah. Doing it against a wall is not considered a Maisabiyah, so therefore it would work only when he intends for an animal, not for the wall. Echad Amara, Amrula. So the Mishnah says it doesn't have to do a full bia, even ha'ara. Right? The Gemara is going to say later on ha'ara in the shikas hamakom, touching the place of the woman. It's not necessarily talking about penetration, complete penetration. Amrula minayin la'ara min ha'torah. How do you know ha'ara is considered from the Torah in order to be called a kinyan for Yibum? It's also good enough in chayav misa or karis if you want to do illicit relations with a woman you're forbidden to. I believe this is this week's Parsha Kedoshim. Talking about a woman being with a nida. It's Makora ha'ara. He uncovered her bare place, ha'ara. So ha'ara is a lashon of starting also. Ha'ara is uncover, and also means starting. Mikala ha'ara min Torah. So the word ha'ara, it's an interesting word. It means ha'ara means to start something. So therefore, just starting the bia is good enough to mechayiv. Eshkechan nida. This is only found by a nida. That if you do this by a nida, you mechayiv kares. Shar arayis ben. How do you know other arayas? You'd also be chayiv kares. Or means it's based in. Let's learn from a nida. Right? A nida is one of the arayas. All of the arayas would be the same thing. Mal nida, you can't learn from a nida. Shkimatam as bol. It has a chumrah by a nida. That when a man's together with a nida, he becomes tamei also. You don't find it by other arayos. I'll ask him Eishazach. Learn from your brother's wife. Pasuk says a man takes his brother's wife. It's called nida. Your brother's wife is always a nida. She's not always a nida. So Ella Kanida. The pasuk compares her with nida for a certain reason. Ma nida be'ara. Just like a nida we learned from the pasuk, it says even a tchilas bia, right, touching the makom, touching the area is considered to be a bia. Af ishes ach be'ara. So too, when you do that with your brother's wife in a situation where you're not allowed to do that with your brother's wife, right, where it's not a matzah of yibum. So just like a nida is ba'ara, af ishes ach be'ara. Mal ishes ach can be yadol rabos. And where it says you can't compare, you can't learn from Eishes Ach to everybody else. Right? The brother, the source of Eishes Ach is your brother marrying a woman, right? So he has the ability to marry as many women as he wants, technically, according to the Torah. So he can Kaddish even 1,000 women, the Gemara says. He can Kaddish 1,000 women. That's not the case of normal arayos, right? El Asim Achos Av Achosim. We have a third place where it mentions Ara by your father's sister and your mother's sister. These are your aunts. Again, I think this is partial. So again, it says the word Ara over there. So just like Araya, you're not allowed to be together with your aunt, whether she's your mother's sister or your father's sister. That's Isra of Karis. Also, Ara, even if you do a Tchilas Bia with them, also it will be considered to be Chayav Karis. So learn from there, just like there is an Araya. So all Arayas will be the same thing. So the Gemara says Ikal Mifrach. No, you can't bring from there. There's a problem with that. Mala Achosav Achosim Shekin Isra Bam Elov. That has a special uniqueness over there, is because the Isser comes from Elov just out of being born, right? Your parents gave birth to you, and they have sisters, so that just by being born to your parents is a natural occurring Isser. Nida, something has to happen. A woman has to menstruate, or your brother has to marry a woman or be Eishes Ach. Here it just happens naturally based on the fact that you're born to your parents. So that's not similar to all other Arayas. So the Gemara concedes. Mechadalo Asya. We can't learn from any of these three sources by itself. But learn one from two. So learn from two of them together. So the Gemara says, which two we're going to learn from? Tesi Me'eshes Ach Achos Av, from your brother's wife, and your Achos Av Achos Im, and the sister of your father or mother. Malahanach Shekeni Surim Mishum Sher. Those are usher because there's a familial relationship. That's what causes the isser. Ella Tesi Nida Achos Av Achos Im. Learn from a Nida and your mother, father, sister. Malahanach Shekeni Surim Abba Me'elav. Those are unique because the isser comes just me'elav, by nature. It comes. Nida menstruates from nature. You're born to your parents. El Tesi Nida, you're opposed to your brother's wife, right? You had to decide to marry her. Ella Tesi Nida of Eishasach. Learn from the Isra of Nida and Eishasach. It says Ara by both of those, so therefore we can learn to everywhere else. To my parach, you have no complaint, no rejection of this. Says no, it is. Mala the Nida of Eishasach shekin ein lahem heter b'chaye osran. Eishasach and Nida, there's no heter, there's no matter, as long as she's menstruating, right? There's nothing to matter that. There's nothing that when the brother's alive, you're not allowed to marry his wife. Tomer be'eshes ish. Say another case where we want to learn, right, adultery, marrying another man's wife, which is an arayos. Shekain ish laheter b'chaye osra. Right, if a man divorces his wife, right, you're allowed to marry her. Only when she's married to somebody else, you can't marry her. She divorces her, even though the husband's still alive. You still can't. You're allowed to marry her. So there's a heter over there. So you can't learn all the cases from it. Does that mean to say that Nida and Eishes Ach, when the life or whatever answers them, the Isra is applicable, when that person is living is applicable, afterwards not applicable? It's totally two different things. Nida, top of Nundalam and Beis, Nida, B'yom Italia Milsa. Nida is independent necessarily on her life or the actual menstruation, because she's usher for at least a certain amount of days when she is a Nida, when she menstruates, even if she sees for one day, let's say, so she would be usher for a certain amount of days. Again, your brother's wife, it depends on something else. It's nothing to do with talking about the life of the person living that ashered, right? It's something dependent on something else. It's dependent on your brother having children, because if he has children, there's no mitzvah yibam. If he doesn't have children, there's mitzvah yibam, and there's no isser. But it's dependent on something else. It's not dependent on the life of the person. It's really dependent on, neither is dependent on the days that she menstruates. She's not menstruating that day. She's muteris. And the Eishazach is dependent on the children. What will be the rejection? Whatever answer them doesn't matter them. Ish is different. Regular case of arayas, the common case of arayas, adultery. Osra, who's the one who answered her? The husband who married her, matir. He matters her with a get. When he gives her a get, he matters her. Right? By Anida, the thing that answered her doesn't matter her. Something else matters her. Right? Not having children or stop the cessation of the blood. El Amar Rabbi Yonah, Yitem Rav Huna B'Rei Shu Amar Kra Ki Kol Shayas Mikol Davas Eila V'Nichzu Anafashos Haozus Hilkshu Kol Arayas Kol. At the end of the parsha, when it talks about all the arayas, it says we had in Rabbi Yonah, we had Rabbi Yonah's Joshua already on Daf Ches regarding to something else, but we learned over there about Erva and Saras Erva, Pturim and Ayibum and Achalitza. Here we're learning something else, that Ha'ara, just like Ha'ara, by a Nida, is enough to mechayiv you. As all the arayas are compared to each other, they're all in the same boat, and therefore, for all the arayas, Ha'ara is chayiv. Mal Nida Ha'ara, af kol araya b'Ha'ara. You can't reject it, but because it's not a memat, there's a hekesh. A hekesh is stronger. You can't just reject it based on logic. The Gemara says, once we already know nida, so why the other two mentionings of ha'ara? Why is it needed? So I said, by your brother's wife. It said it compares to a nida lamli. The Gemara says, Rav Huna remez livam min haTorah minayin. Rav Huna is going to explain that there's a remez, there's a hint that for Yevamos min haTorah minayin. Isra of Yevamos, or the head of Yevamos, we're going to get into that in a second. So the Gemara interjects for a second. Minayin, haksiv Yevamos yavo aleh. The Gemara thinks he means the mitzvah of marrying a Yevamos. It's a mitzvah. I mean remez. It's a mitzvah in the Torah. It's clearly in the Torah. El remez Yevamos she'asura b'chai ba'ala minayin. How do you know the Yevamos is asur as long as her husband's still alive? Let's say your brother marries a wife, right? And they don't have children. Technically, she's Yibam. And instead of dying, which would make it a case of Yibam, he divorces her. Divorces the wife, right? So she's still asur mishum eishasach, even though it would normally be a contract of Yibam if he would have died, but he didn't die, he just divorced her. So how do you know that? Hi svara he. And the Gemara says that's a svara. You don't need a remez. Torah said dafka when he dies, so you'd see if he didn't die, even if he divorced her, she'll be usher. So the Gemara persists. Mitzvah. Maybe after her husband died, there's a mitzvah do yibum. If he just divorced her, maybe you have an opportunity that you're allowed to do it. It's just not a mitzvah. Alternatively, you could say after he dies, then there's a mitzvah. Lo. Or when he's living, when he divorces her, there's no mitzvah at all. We call essay, but all that would be is a svara. Even if it's a svara, it would be lav ba'am call essay. It would just be what is the right word? Inference. It's an inference, right? You learn the isser from the essay. The essay is do the mitzvah even when he dies. When he's still alive, there's only an essay. It only has the power of an essay, not the power of kares, lav. Amrakrav isha yikach izeshus echav nida he. That's why we need the pasuk compares your brother's wife to a nida. Ella kanida is like a nida. Ma nida al b'sheish laheter lachar mikan. B'shasi surah b'kares. Even though a nida, when she stops menstruating, she's muteres, right? So while she is menstruating, she's asur b'kares. Afeish zachnam al b'sheish laheter lachar mikan. Even though she technically would have a heter, your brother's wife after he dies, nechayi b'ayla b'kares. When he divorces her, even though they have no children, there'll be kares. Ella ara. So we answered why ha'ara is written by Eishes Ach. Now the ha'ara d'chsiv gabi achos av achos eim lamali. Why do you need the third mentioning by your mother and your father's sister? So Ravina asked Rava, ha'ama'ara b'zachar mahu. He starts to have relations with a man. Now, b'zachar, the Gemara says, that's, you don't need a pasuk for that. Mishkeve isha ksiv. It has to be mishkeve isha ksiva. Right? It compares Mishkav Zachar, being together with a man, as the same as being together with a woman. So just like a woman, we know ha'ara is good enough. So a man also. Elamar behema mao. How do you know that even starting relations with an animal is good enough to mechayiv you? If you're together with an animal, you're chayiv mises basin. How do you know even starting with that is enough to mechayiv mises basin? If there's third pasuk, which is not necessary for your father sister and mother sister, because they're included one of their rayas, they're part of the hekesh Rabbi Yonah. So that's done that Yonah. So therefore, we have an extra pasuk. We'll learn that even by behema, ha'ara is good enough to mechayiv you. The Gemara says, "Michti behema chayiv mises based in he." Right? Normally, nida and hukshu kol rayas and nida is kares. Nida is not chayiv mises based. You don't get death penalty for being with a nida. Behema you do. So if the necessity of the Torah is to teach you that you're chayav the behema in fa'ara, even Mises Bastin, why didn't we say it by Mises Bastin, right? Which is more chomer. So the Gemara says, it's more logical to learn Mises Bastin from Mises Bastin. The Gemara says, I did the Kulei Kol Drasha Asi Ksivi Nami Hamilsa Drasha. Since the whole pasuk, this pasuk of your father's sister and mother's sister, is unnecessary completely, because two pasukim before this pasuk it says exactly the same thing in the Torah. This whole pasuk is unnecessary. It's just for a drasha. So once the whole pasuk is made for a drasha, the Torah threw in this thing, even though it's better, right? It should have been written by Mises Bastin, but where the whole pasuk was unnecessary, we wrote something else also to teach the ara, even though it's not, it's applicable even by Mises Bastin. My drasha. Why is this pasuk unnecessary? Tanya eras achos avicha lo segala. It says you're not supposed to be together with the sister of your father. Bein min ha'av, bein min ha'em. This pasuk could be whether it's your father's sister, he shares his sister paternally, or it's even a maternal sister, meaning he's only a sister, his sister through the mother. You may think whether it's a paternal sister or a maternal sister, or maybe I could say logically, no, it's only a paternal sister. It makes sense. There's an isser of arayos by your aunt, your father's sister, an isser by your sister. You can't be together with your sister. Your sister, it's clearly in the Torah. It says whether you share just a mother or just a father with her. So too, your aunt also, whether it's your father's maternal sister or paternal sister, wouldn't make a difference. But you can hear the other way. You're chayav with your brother, your father's brother's wife, right? That's another way of aunt, but it's a different type of aunt. It's only through marriage. It has to be your doda, your. It's only talking about the wife of your father's brother, but it has to be a brother that your father shares paternally, not just maternally. So there, just like over there by dodaso, it has to be the wife of your father, of a brother of your father who's a brother paternally, but maternally wouldn't be good enough. Who should we compare it to? We should technically learn out from your sister, right? Because that comes naturally once you're born. She's your sister. That doesn't come naturally. Your father's brother has to marry someone. Maybe you could say the other way. You shouldn't learn from your sister because that's someone who's a relative of you. We're talking about aunts over here. So learn your father's sister from your father's brother's wife. It's both aunts. Therefore it says the extra pasuk is to tell you it doesn't matter whether it's a maternal sister or a paternal sister. So why do I need your mother's sister? That obviously, if by your father's sister, it wouldn't matter whether your father's sister is sharing a mother or a father. So your mother's sister also, it wouldn't matter whether she's your mother's sister sharing a father or mother. Why do you have to say the same thing by your father's sister and your mother's sister? You need both psukim because of your father's sister came out ish lachayis. Right? Genetically and genealogically, you're connected to your father. Your father's family is more your family than your mother's family, because it says in Bamidbar, it says Beis Avosam, your father's family. That's really more your family. You're connected to your father's family, more your mother's family. Was said by your mother's sister, right? Your mother has the mile, even though you're closer to your father's family, but your mother's family, is your family. Your father is not 100% sure. It could be your mother was together with somebody else. You don't know who your father is. It could be somebody else. But your father's sister, maybe it's not your father. Therefore you knew both of them. How do we know that your aunt, who is your father's brother's wife, it has to be your father's brother sharing a father, not a mother? How do you know that? Minali. Amar Rabba ask dodo dodo. It's a gzira shava dodo dodo. Ksiv hacha ervas dodo gilo. Ksiv hasam o dodo o bein dodo yigalena. It says by Araya's dodo. And it says dodo, your uncle or your first cousin, you're the son of your uncle, should redeem him. That's talking about when you get sold as a slave. So that's talking about your father's family and not your mother's family. How do you know dodo over there is from your father? Like we proved before, Beis Avosam tells you that your father's family is considered mishpacha. Your mother's family is not really called so much mishpacha. It's not called Beis Avosam. That'll be the end of today's daf. I hope you enjoyed. Stay tuned for Yep and see you on coming up now.